Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to our Thursday evening training. I hope that this finds you well wherever you are joining us from. I hope that also the year is coming along nicely now that we are moving towards the later parts of the month of January. So maybe if I need to introduce myself for those who are new to our trainings, our weekly training. My name is Betty Olo, a long-time Neolife distributor, and I'm always happy to be able to have this opportunity to speak about our products with you in order to better position ourselves, to help those who come to us for assistance, and also, of course, to improve our own knowledge of our products, as well as how lifestyle that supports good health. So whether you're here on our continent of Africa or you're further afield, it's a warm welcome. Take this 1 hour, relax. And today, as you might have seen in your invite, I'm going to speak about healthy metabolism. So today is the first part of this session. I divided it in two parts because it's a bit long and has got a bit of technical terminology, which I thought it would be a good thing to explain more slowly. You'll also recall that last Thursday, the session was about detox. And we did say that it's a good thing to always try to ensure we minimize our toxin load. But after taking care to detox and to be more careful about our toxin load, it would be a pity if we go on to do things that harm our metabolism. Because the whole point of detoxing is so that we assist our metabolic processes to go on more smoothly and efficiently. And that is why I thought that maybe today and next week, we can look more into our metabolism, because our metabolism determines very many aspects of our health, in fact, all of them. And that is because the term metabolism refers to the many interconnected processes, biochemical processes, that is, that any living organism is going to be undergoing to provide itself with fuel for doing its activities, also for growth and for repair. So our metabolism is let's say, the processes that keep us alive and healthy and able to do the things that we need to do. There would be things like, for example, breaking down or recycling old or damaged tissue. So remember, in the course of our life, the cells are always, we are getting new cells and the old cells are dying and getting recycled or removed from our systems. Another thing, of course, is to build new tissue to provide growth. This, of course, if a person is younger, children and adolescents tend to have a very rapid growth. As we grow older, the spurts of growth can reduce, but we still, of course, have growth to renew to renew or repair old tissues. Of course, also there are those processes that provide us with the energy we need to think, to work, to just exist. So after introducing metabolism, then the next thing I wanted to mention are some of the raw materials for our metabolism. The first one, of course, will be oxygen from the atmosphere, which we breathe in. Oxygen, as with other processes, is crucial for energy production, and that is what we use it for in our bodies. The other thing is water, and water is very important because all our metabolic processes take place in solution, and the solvent is water. I know that there are people who do not really like to drink water, and I can encourage you by saying we don't all need to drink the same amount of water. Some people need to drink more water, maybe because they tend to sweat more. Some people who sweat less may find that they don't need to drink as much. So we may vary the amount of water each of us need, but there is no one who does not need to take water in their diet. Also recall that the amount of water you need may also depend on the type of food you eat. If you tend to eat dry foods, it will be different than if, for example, you eat foods like fruits and salads and so on, because they contain water already themselves. So there is a variation in the amount of water we need, but all of us need at least some. Then nutrients are the other thing that is essential for our metabolism. And these nutrients, of course, will come from our food and our drink. And this is why when we are thinking about food, yes, it is important that our food is palatable, but even more important is that the food is providing us with the nutrients that we need. We also need hormones. Hormones act as regulators, which give signals in our processes. And so they also play an essential role in our metabolism. And finally, we have what are called enzymes. So enzymes simply are substances that speed up our metabolic processes. Our metabolic processes would go on even without enzymes, but they would be too slow to sustain our life. Therefore, enzymes are important because they ensure that the processes are taking place at the correct pace for supporting our life. So the quickest way to get an indication about whether your metabolism is working well and that it's supporting good health is to check that your waist measurement is half of your height measurement. So for example, I am 1.5 meters in height. And so my waist measurement should be around 7.5, I think, is that right? 0.75. Sorry, 0.75 of a meter. So about 3/4 of a meter, my waistline. And that is to be around half of my height. So if you just generally want to know, but you can also get more accurate measurements from looking at something like your blood pressure, which should be within the normal range. If it is above the normal range, that it could be an indication that there are problems to do with your metabolism. The other indicator would be from having your blood sugar tested. If you request for this test, you would be able to know, they would tell you, for example, at what time to have the test and what to do around the test so that you get accurate results. And this also would tell you, give you an indication of how well your metabolism is going. And the reason why this would be important is because a lot of the illnesses we talk about in our product trainings and a lot of the illnesses that we are coming across these days are to do with problems with our metabolism. So because these days we already have cures for most infectious diseases, the ones which we have no cure for are the lifestyle diseases. And these lifestyle diseases are almost always connected with problems to do with our metabolism. So I think the next parts I'm going to discuss will be the processes that harm our metabolism. So there'll be a number of them. I think there are about maybe 8 or so of them. And these will be processes that occur in response to things that we are doing wrong and are harming our metabolism. So the first one is called glycation. So just to explain what glycation means, you'll have heard me speaking many times recommending that we minimize the amount of added sugar in our diet or to even eliminate it. So the reason for that is because of this process of glycation. So glycation is caused when there is excess sugar in our bodies. This sugar is going to bind to different things in our bodies. If, for example, the sugar can bind to our DNA, causing the DNA to be damaged. It can, the sugar can bind to tissues in our bodies. So for example, if the sugar binds to the tissues in your eye, you may start to lose your sight. This is why, for example, people with type 2 diabetes especially, one of the things they struggle with is loss of eyesight, and eventually it can even lead to blindness. And this is because of the high sugar in their blood binding to the tissues in their eyes and thereby damaging even the blood vessels, the very small blood vessels in their eyes, thereby interfering with their eyesight. This sugar can also bind to body fat, and this can prevent the fat from being released for use, so that if we are trying to maintain a healthy weight, it can make it difficult, very difficult for us to reduce our body weight if it's on the higher side. So glycation contributes a lot to premature aging. It also contributes to dementia, that is our loss of our mental faculties. And of course, it also contributes to type 2 diabetes and other illnesses. So this is why I always very often recommend that look at your sugar intake. Avoid drinking sugary drinks. Avoid adding refined sugar to your diet as much as possible. Look at the foods that you buy, which are ready-made, and see if there is added sugar in them and how much. So the good thing these days is that most foods will have that information bar that will tell you what the contents are, and just get in the habit of taking a look, because that will give you at least some basic information. But again, we know that as far as possible, prepare your own food and opt for minimally processed food for that reason. So the recommendation from the health organizations is we should not have more than 6 teaspoons of sugar in a 24-hour cycle. And that will, it's not just that the sugar that you add, any kind of sugar that will be in your food, maybe some that are already added, some that you add yourself or not, should not exceed 6 teaspoons. And if you can go below that, much the better. Again, also here is to not introduce our babies to sugary foods. A lot of the baby foods have got too much sugar to make the foods more palatable for the child. But we'll be starting our babies and our children on the wrong food if we introduce them to added sugar at an early stage. So as much as possible, prepare your baby's food yourself. If you are buying ready-made baby food, take a good look at the list of ingredients and the information bar to take care of that. As your children grow older also, don't get them in the habit of fruit juices and sodas and so on. Rather, train them to eat whole fruit, which will provide them with sugar, but not that excessive sugar that already the fruits that we have been hybridized for greater sweetness. So really, if you're the child wants something sweet, the fruits are very, very sweet these days, quite different from what fruits originally used to be like. So with that, I also want to mention that our Neolife supplements of botanical balance, N, and magnesium complex are very important in dealing with glycation, keeping glycation at a minimum. So if you maybe have got a reason to worry about these processes, then botanical balance, N, and magnesium will be useful. Of course, also opt for good dietary choices. The next process that can harm our metabolism is biochemical stress. So this is stress to do with our body trying to detox, our body trying to get rid of harmful things that either come from our diet or are in our environment, like the many chemicals that have now been added to things so that our environment contains a lot of substances that were not formerly there. If you think, for example, of all the chronic medication we are taking, all the birth control pills that women are taking, all these end up in our waterways, and in some ways they are going to end up in our food or in our life in one way or another. So for that reason, biochemical stress will be a thing that we need to think about and try to avoid problematic foods in our diet, minimize toxin loads, and also opt for healthy foods as far as you are able. And our Neolife supplements for combating biochemical stress are quite numerous. So we have got the antioxidants. For example, we have phytodefense, which is a combination of plant-based nutrients, carotenoid complex, flavonoid complex, and cruciferous plus. These are all antioxidants that come from different plant sources. We also have vitamin E and wheat germ oil, also powerful antioxidants. We have vitamin C, which comes in two forms. We have the sustained release, and we also have the chewable all C. Vitamin C is another powerful antioxidant, and as well as coenzyme Q10 is also an antioxidant. So if you want to combat biochemical stress in your life, maybe because you have a lifestyle or an environment where you think you are more vulnerable, then those are some of the supplements that you can look at. Of course, our basic supplementation, such as ProVitality, will contain carotenoid complex, which is going to be one of our broad hard-working what is this thing? Antioxidants. So yeah, those will be our antioxidants. You can see which one that is good for you. If I can recommend, for example, if you tend to have issues to do with your breathing, like for example, I suffer from seasonal allergies, I find that flavonoid complex is very good for that. For a man, if you're a man and maybe you are in your middle ages, like 40s and above, you should add cruciferous plus because it is very good for ensuring that your prostate gland stays healthy. And during the season when we have a lot of flu, ensuring that we have vitamin C can help us in that way. So the different antioxidants can help us in different ways and during different periods. The next process that harms our metabolism is mitochondrial dysfunction. So you may have remembered, I think, from some of Connie's sessions, mitochondria are small particles or organelles that are found in our cells. So they are the small organelles, little things that are inside our cells and are responsible for producing energy within our cells. But sometimes they can malfunction due maybe to a problem to do with our genes. Could be a change in the genes, or it could be some diseases can also cause our mitochondria to not function correctly, or there can be environmental factors that are poisoning our mitochondria and causing them not to work well. And remember, they are in charge of ensuring that energy is being produced adequately for our cells. So for mitochondrial dysfunction, our threonine will play a very important role, not only for the health of our cell, but also the health of our cell membrane. Coenzyme Q10 also is important for mitochondrial dysfunction. So by taking our baseline supplement, which is threonine, you could be safeguarding your mitochondria from problems. The next one will be insulin resistance. So that is the fourth process that works against our healthy metabolism. And I will not go into the details of insulin resistance because that will be in our session for next week, which will look more at detail at this particular aspect of processes that harm our metabolism. And that is because insulin resistance has got very many, a variety of many harmful ways in which it manifests itself. So we'll leave that for now and we'll revisit it next Thursday, God willing. Then the next one is called membrane instability. So this is referring to our cell wall. So each of the cells in our bodies, there are lots and lots of them. We are made of cells, as you remember from your biology. Each cell has got a wall around it that is called the cell membrane. And this cell membrane is very important for our metabolism because it is what allows in the raw materials that we need for our cells and also lets out the byproducts of our metabolic processes. This all happens through the membrane. So this membrane needs to be permeable and healthy and flexible. And this can be interfered with. So the health of our cell membrane can be interfered with again by injury. Maybe the cell has been damaged, or by toxins that are in our environment, or it can also be from diseases. So here with the health of our cell membrane, we are looking at our threonine, very important for cellular health, as we've seen, and also omega-3 salmon oil will play an important role in the health of our cell membranes. Then the sixth one is another famous process that we speak about quite often, and that is inflammation. So we know that there is the type of inflammation which helps the healing process, but we also have the problematic inflammation, which we call chronic or systemic inflammation. That is when the entire body is being affected by this kind of agitation that comes from problems, especially to do with our gut. So if our gut is not working well, or the walls of our intestines have been compromised, maybe the half digested food is able to come out of our digestive system and enter our circulation, then we'll start to have inflammation, chronic inflammation. There can be other causes of chronic inflammation. We'll speak about them at another time, but just know that there is a type of inflammation. For example, if you are injured, let's say something hits you on the arm, you'll notice that your arm will swell, and that will be the beginning of a process of healing that injury. That is the normal inflammation that is a part of the healing process. However, chronic inflammation is a different type. It is when your body is feeling that it is being harmed in some way. And so in the whole systems, all the systems of our bodies, or a certain organ system, can start being inflamed and producing certain chemicals that are harmful to our metabolism. So that is why we need to take care of our gut, so that the gut is only allowing out properly digested food that can be carried in circulation without alarming our autoimmune system. Because when improperly digested foods enter our circulation, our immune cells are going to mistake it for a harmful microbe, an aggressive something that has entered the system. And so we shall have a reaction, an immune reaction, so to speak. And this can be very severe and can cause a lot of problems. So it also manifests in different ways. So for example, the autoimmune issue can be on your skin, where you notice that you get a lot of eczemas and rashes. It can be in your joints, where you get pains in your joints or swelling in your joints. It can be like what you get when you have allergies, that you start itching and scratching and maybe coughing and sneezing and so on. So all these are signs of effects of the autoimmune system reacting as a result of the stress that is being caused by improperly digested foods being able to penetrate the walls of our digestive system and enter our circulation, and thereby trigger the autoimmune reaction. So again, here, what we would recommend if you have autoimmune issues and inflammation would be chelated zinc. Helps in the healing of the walls of our digestive system. We also recommend vitamin A plus D. And if you are not taking enough dietary fiber, you can supplement with fiber tablets. These are some of the supplements that can help you in improving your gut health, so that it does not unleash this autoimmune reaction on you and cause more problems down the line. Then the next process is the malfunctioning of our genetic material, or our genes. We of course are always talking about genes, and this we know that the genes are like the blueprints that instructs our bodies on how to perform the metabolic activities. So we can have malfunctioning genes as a result of an inheritance. So, for example, you're aware that Pascal and myself are carriers of a malfunctioning gene, which can cause sickle cell anemia, for instance. That's an example of a gene that's changed, is called a mutation. And now, for that reason, our blood is not always of the correct quality. There are people who have different types of malfunctioning genes, but the ones that I'm really thinking about here are those ones that could be due to environmental factors. It could be due to menopause and so on. So these types of malfunctioning genes, it's not a major thing. They can lead to issues that maybe you previously did not have. So for example, you may notice as you get older that you suffer from brain fog, that your mind is not so well focused, or you may notice that maybe your digestion is going off or something of that sort. So that is usually that the information that is coming from your genetic makeup can be compromised as a result of something. It could be, as I said, just something that you inherited. It could be spontaneous, that it just happens in reaction to something in your environment and so on. So it is important that we also support the correct functioning of our genes by taking some of these supplements that help in the process called methylation. So we need to optimize this process because it ensures that the genes are working correctly. Some genes need to be switched on, some genes need to be switched off, depending on the situation and the need of the body. And to ensure that, then we will use lipotropic adjuncts, which contains a variety of nutrients that will help our genetic makeup. Then also magnesium complex is another one that helps in the correct functioning of our genes. Chelated zinc, as well as vitamin A plus D. As you know that vitamin D has been found to be very essential for very many processes. So those can optimize that. And this malfunctioning of genes is also another one that can drive premature aging or signs of aging, that our body doesn't work as well, even though we are still far from reaching our elder years. And then the last one I wanted to include there will be autophagy. So autophagy is a process in which the body breaks down and recycles old tissues or old cells. And this is very good because then we get rid of the old cells and we replace them with new cells. And so the way to ensure that your body is getting rid of old cells and producing new cells to replace them, one of the lifestyle things that helps with that will be exercise, not too much, the optimum amount of exercise for yourself and for your stage in life. Then getting out of the habit of continuously eating will be a good thing. Having specific time for eating. So this is what we call time restricted eating. You can, let's say, decide that you'll be having 2 or 3 meals per day, but you'll not be eating after 7 o'clock. Maybe you'll be eating between 8 in the morning and 7 in the morning. And beyond that, you do not eat, or you can compress it even further. The aim there is to give your body a break from digesting food and processing food. And when your body is taking such a break, excuse me, it will take that opportunity to look at itself and get rid of worn out tissues and replace them with new ones. And that way, your metabolism will become more efficient. So for children and people, small children and people who are unwell, of course, we may need to eat fairly frequently, maybe getting 3 meals plus some snacks in the middle. But for all of the rest of us who are in fairly good health with no specific medical issue, it's a good thing to restrict our meals to specific times and also to look at our portion sizes. So the amount of food we should take should be related to our weight issues. If we have no weight issues, then we simply target towards eating nutritious food until we are satisfied, not until we are full. Okay, so some other lifestyle things that we can mention there will be to avoid foods which has chemical additives. These chemical additives, many of them may be safe, others may not be so safe. And because each of us is a unique human being, what might be safe for one person may be not safe for another person. Also, the people who test the chemicals that they add to food don't test it in all the broad spectrum of the different members of the human race. So something that might not be problematic for people coming from a certain ethnicity or race may be more harmful to people who come from a different race. So just to be aware of that. So avoid food with additive, just to be on the safe side. Things like preservatives, flavorants, and colorants. It is hard to know how our own unique body is going to react to those chemicals. Then eliminate or resolve stress in your life. Here, I'm not talking about biochemical stress. I'm talking about the stress that is in our lifestyle. Try to safeguard good quality sleep, a minimum of 7 hours every night. That is what we try to get. I know that sometimes it doesn't quite work out, at least for me, but we should aim for getting good sleep every night, because it is extremely important for our overall health, and especially for our mental health and the good functioning of our brains. Then minimize and eliminate substances that have already been identified as harmful. So we should get rid of habits like smoking. We should get rid of habits like excessive intake of alcohol and foods that have got sugar added to them. These should be things that are already well established to be harmful to us. So we should eliminate them. Let's protect our liver, because remember, it is our main detox organ, and it already has got a lot to do. So we should support it. We have got a standalone session about supporting our liver, which will come further as the time goes along. And of course, also protect your gut microbes, which are our friends, and working towards our health by ensuring that you take enough dietary fiber in your diet. Doesn't mean that you have to take a great deal of it. I recommend that if you tend to have gut issues, opt for cooked vegetables rather than salads, because cooked vegetables are easier to digest if you tend to have bloating and diarrhea and so on. Then the last thing I want to share with you is often people ask us, why do I need to take supplements? I eat a healthy diet, I've got no real health issue, and so on. But I would say that our baseline supplementation, especially pre-NN, is essential for everybody, because it ensures that we benefit from all the other good habits that we are cultivating in our diet and in our lifestyle. So pre-NN is an essential. If we want to optimize, then we go on to Pro-Vitality, which will be having omega-3 plus, it will have carotenoid complex, it will have a multimineral, and it will also, it will have a multi, and it will also have 3NN within it. So the reason why we recommend to people to at least take a baseline supplementation is because these supplements help to fill up the any nutritional deficiency that we may be having. Such deficiencies can be the result of our food preferences. It can, so for example, some people just hate fish, but omega-3 salmon oil is very, very good for our health, our blood health. It helps resolve inflammation. It helps to keep our joints healthy, very many things. So if you hate fish, for example, you still need to find a way to get the benefits of fish. So it could also be because of our food quality. Not all of us have access to good quality food. I remember someone asking me for supplementation because they were living in a place which is a desert, and the only food they could get is meats and some carbohydrates, which means they were getting no vegetables because vegetables were not easily available. So it does not mean that we do not need the fiber and the phytonutrients. That can be a reason why we need to take our supplements. Aging and the aging process can change our metabolism so that we don't digest things as well. Also for women, for example, as we grow older, for example, women in my age group and older, our body no longer prioritizes proteins, which means that if we do not have enough protein in our diet, we are going to start becoming frail. So for older people, women, and of course men also, we need to make sure that we are getting adequate proteins in our diet, because our bodies start to be a bit not searching for proteins so much. So try to see that your protein intake is enough. Other things, the reasons why we should supplement will be if we are under special needs conditions. So for example, childhood, adolescents who are growing very fast. During pregnancy, the expectant mother will be requiring extra supplementations to ensure that she has what she needs, and also the baby gets what the baby needs. Finally, of course, we could be struggling with an illness. We could be struggling with the results of bad choices that we have made previously. And we could be living in a hazardous environment, maybe in our place where we work, or the place where we live makes us more vulnerable to toxins, our liver will appreciate the extra nutrients to help it to get rid of those toxins so that the toxins do not overwhelm us. Because one of the things that leads to our metabolism not working well is that the liver will be and the kidney will be struggling trying to keep the amount of toxins down. So I see that my time is up. I want to thank you very much for having taken the time and spent your data on this training session. As always, our plan is always to give value for what we are presenting to you. So I hope that this part of the session has already given you ideas on going about your business, as well as looking at your own lifestyle and how you can support good health. So for now, I want to thank you and say good evening to you and hand you over to Pascal, who is standing by to take you through the second part of today's session. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much, Betty. That was quite a lot of information. We recorded this session because I'm sure many people are going to be asked for the recording. So speak to your leaders. As soon as we finish, we will record it. We will transcribe it and then send it to the leaders. What I would like to share with you this evening is things that we speak about almost every training. That is the basics. Basics simply means, how do we build our business? How do we get our business to grow so that we can become successful, or so that we can offer the people that we meet a solution for their challenges that they're going through? Because remember, what is a business? A business is an entity that solves people's problems, and in return, we are paid the money, either through a service or a product. That is the solution we give to the public so that we can be paid for whatever it is that we are solving. So, what are the basics of our business? I know there are some people who joined the business today, some joined yesterday, some joined last week, some joined last month, last year, or some have been in the business over 20 years. Whatever time you've been in the business, we all do the basics of our business to grow our business. And what are the basics of our business? The basics of business is, first and foremost, using the products. All of us need to use the products for a very simple reason. Number one, we are supporting our own business. Number two, we want the people that we speak to have confidence in what we are telling them, because we can share our experience of the products with them. That is really why we use the product. And we're supporting our business. And another thing is, our products are just excellent. For the last 2-3 weeks, I've been going through through YouTube and videos. If you click any video go to the YouTube and search for Scientific Advisory Board members, it will give you a ton of information. Short videos, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. The chief product officer, Dr. Susan Beck, excellent presentation on some of the. She spent about, I think, 90 seconds or less to explain as simply as possible what our products do and the benefit. Why does she do that? So that we can make it easier for our customers to follow our products. So the first thing of our business is use the products. Second step, share the business and the product. It simply means introduce other people to be business builders and promoters of the products. The people you meet who are not interested in the business become our customers. That's the second thing we do. The third thing is personal development. We'll speak a little bit about that on the second part of my presentation. So, using the products. 3NN, excellent product for cellular nutrition. I think Betty has spoken quite well about 3NN. All of you who are listening to me, all distributors need to be using tree and because it provides the foundation for good nutrition. It helps our cells to absorb nutrients efficiently. Use the cleaning products, LDC, Super 10, make your home look clean and neat. Our products are biodegradable. They are concentrate. It simply means the company does not want customers to spend money buying plastics. If you buy one bottle of of LDC, it will make for you 6 liters of the usable product. If you buy 1 liter of Super 10, it will make for you 11 liters of usable product because they're concentrate, so that you don't have to waste money buying plastics. And number two, that plastic will somehow get into the environment. So, I mean, the company saw this long time ago. Take good care of your skin. Those are simply the things that you need to do to make sure you're using the good product. CalMag, Full Motion, salmon oil for arthritis, all these products are good for our own use. So personal development simply means you take time to learn what the products do, okay? Let's go a bit more detail on how to build your business. First step, as you may have been aware, we use the PV system to measure the business volume. Each product has a PV attached to it. For example, Tree and N60 capsule is 17 PV, LDC is 10 PV, Super 10 is 10 PV, makes 20 PV. The salmon oil, you have one for 25 PV, which is 90 capsules. CalMag is 12 PV. Full Motion, I think Full Motion is 16 or 17 PV. So use the products to build your PV level. Why do you need to build your PV? Because you want to build and manage a business. And when you've built and managed a business, the people you've brought into the business, teach them also to become managers. That's how you build an organization, all right? So manager structure, very simple. Use the products, get some customers. Eventually you'll be able to reach 300 PV. If you've got 6 to 8 customers who buy products from you, and you're also using the products, it's quite easy to reach 300 PV. 2, the people you sponsor in the business, help them to reach at least 100 PV. If you do this, you'll be building a business which is over 500 PV. And then start duplicating this process. Duplication simply means you teach the people you brought into the business to do what you do. And what do? You use the products. You share the products with your customers. That means you sell to them at retail price. And then you also build a team. That is simply what duplication is. Let's look at the actual process of sponsoring, building a team, because building a team is the essence of growing a large business. Our business can be defined as building a large group of people who consistently do a few things every single day over an extended period of time. How do you build people? How do you build a team or sponsoring? A name list. Start with 200. Your goal is to reach 200 people, but start with 20 people first. Why 20 people? Because 20 people, the person who's brought you into the business will help you to share the business with the first 20 people on your list, okay? And the reason for that is your sponsor is more experienced. They have had all the questions, the challenges, the responses people have, the objections that people have. So your sponsor will help you. That's one. Second step, invite people to see the presentation. Either a Zoom presentation like the ones we do on Monday, or a one-on-one presentation when you meet face-to-face, or a two-on-one presentation. That means a new person with their sponsor going to see a prospect, or you have a in-person presentation. That means at a venue, you invite a group. You can even do it in a home. You invite a large group of people, and one person who is experienced explain the business concept of the business model. That is presenting the business. Once you presented the business, and a very important thing is always use tools as much as possible. Why do we recommend that you use tools as much as possible? Because even a new person can use the tools. Tools like sharing a magazine, tools like sharing there's a 2 minute 38-second video from Neolife. or a 10-minute presentation video that explains the business in brief. All those are tools, and the reason those tools are made is to make people who are new, for example, you sponsored somebody today, or they just joined the business, they don't know what to say. Simple. They take the phone, they ask their sponsor, look, I've got a prospect that I want to speak to. Can we set up a meeting? Your sponsor said, yes, set up a meeting, we'll go and see them. In the meantime, share a tool or a video that explains the business in brief to your prospect. Okay? That's why a tool is very important. Once you've seen the business, the next step is to follow up. We say in our business that the fortune is in the follow-up. Why? The average person does not respond or make a decision until you've spoken to them 5, 6, or 7 times. That is the norm. Very few will actually make a decision immediately and start the business. Some you'll have to follow for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Some you'll follow for a month, 2, 3 months. Some you may even follow for a whole year. So you need to be patient with yourself and the people you speak to. In fact, the thing I love about this business, it trains you to be patient because it is in your own interest to be patient, all right? And then when you've got people into the business, they've signed up, and then you teach them how the business works. This is where the duplication process actually starts. I remember this W. Why is this W very important? It's very dear to me. It gives me in one page the process of sponsoring, the process of bringing somebody into the business. Write a prospects list, invite people to look at the business, and use a tool unless you're going to see them one-on-one, use a tool, either a magazine or a video or a short presentation. Then you invite them for a business opportunity presentation where the details of how the business concept works. And then once we've seen the business, you do a follow-up. Follow-up simply means that when somebody has seen the business, you need to ask them questions to see whether, yes, they want to join the business, or no, they're not ready yet, or they'd like some clarification, or they're simply not interested. That's what the need of the follow-up is important. Have a very simple system how to follow up your prospect. Write their names down and take the number of times you're going to follow up. You will see how effective you are in terms of your follow-up. And remember, every prospect has got there are 3 possible outcomes. 1, they say, yes, I want to start the business. They pay for their kit and you get them started. Or they say, I'm not really interested in the business, but I like to use excellent products for my health. They become a customer. Or, no, they're not interested. This is not for them, not even the product. Those are the 3 possible answers. And you, as a person who is prospecting them, you need to accept that not everybody will see the value of the business. Not everybody will see the value of the product. Some people just say, no. Maybe you haven't sold the dream, or they have a lot of fears, they have a lot of misgivings about the product or the business. That's really their choice. The important thing is to guide them to make the right decision for them. Okay? That's what really this W is about, is the work we do. The work we do is to show the business to new prospects to join our business. A very important thing that I'd like to share with you, or I've shared with you before, is you need to have a daily method of operation. That simply means every day there's some things you need to do to grow your business. Why is that important? Because consistency is what actually makes the business grow. Write down your goals of the things you want to achieve. 2, set aside 2 hours to invite prospects for the presentation. If you're part-time, if you're full-time, maybe more hours. Then present the business, the opportunity to people. And a very good way to present this is, 1, is to share your story. Your story is very, very powerful because when you share your story, a prospect thinks, okay, if this guy went through this, I can also do the business. The most powerful thing we have in our business is story. You will notice if you're a distributor that every presentation we always invite a guest to share their story. Why? Because the prospect who's watching the presentation says in their mind, I can do what this person has done. That's why it's very important to share your story. So present the business, The fourth thing you need to do every day is read a good book. Why is it important to read a good book? Because you cannot give what you don't have. And how do you give what you have? By inputting good material in your mind. You need to read good books that explain the business idea, business building books. You need to read books about product knowledge or material about product knowledge, the product catalog, the brochures that you have, whatever it is. And then you need to read a book about personal development, books that help you to become a better person. They are excellent books if you look at the Getting Started workbook, they have suggested some very excellent books in that document. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success Through Selling by Frank Bettker, The 7 Steps of Becoming a Professional Network Marketer by Eric Worre. We've got excellent books. Go for No. We've got very, very good books in that. So at least buy one, read it through, but don't read it just once. The first time, read it as a storybook. Then read it again with a pen or a highlighter. You read 15 minutes, highlight something that strikes you. The idea is to master the concepts in the book and start putting them into practice. And then add new names to your list. Why is this important? Because when you start the business, you've written 20 names, 100 names, 200. At one point, you'll have spoken to all those people. Some of them will join, some of them may not join. But you need to find a way to meet new people. How do you do that? Always be aware of people around you. If you go to a restaurant, you're at the bank, you've gone to see a doctor, you are in a taxi or a matatu, whatever it is, always be aware that somebody next to you could be your next serious leader. Exchange phone numbers with people. Don't speak to them about the business the first meeting. Get to know them and then share the business with them. Now, let's talk about personal development. Sharpening the saw. There's a story of 2 men who are cutting wood. One was a very strong guy. He used to really work hard chopping his wood. The other guy was average build, but every time he would stop to sharpen his axe. But he was able to fell twice the number of logs than the first guy. Why? He was sharpening his axe. What is sharpening the saw in our business? Sharpening the saw in our business is just becoming a better person. I always like to use the acronym of ASK: attitude, skill, and knowledge. Those are the 3 areas where you need to develop yourselves so that you can become a better distributor, so that you can become a better leader for your team, so that you can grow your business. The first one is the attitude. What is attitude? Attitude is a frame of mind, is a mindset that you possess that helps you either succeed or not. And the better attitude you have, the more successful you're going to become. Let me give you an example of a good attitude and a bad one. In fact, I was reading this in a book. There was a young man who was sent to a country to sell shoes. So he went to that country and he found that nobody has ever worn shoes. There are people who have never seen shoes and don't wear shoes. So he called his headquarters and said to the boss, there are no people who are wearing shoes here. Please give me a ticket to come back home. This is not a good market for us. So they sent him a ticket and he went home. They sent another guy to the same market, the same country. And he found that nobody wears shoes. And the second guy said, boss, make as many shoes as possible. Here, nobody's wearing shoes. Therefore, we've got an incredible market to fulfill. The same situation, but 2 people reacted completely different ways. You see, the people who have a success mindset always see the opportunity to grow the business. They see opportunity to help somebody become successful. They see an opportunity for somebody to improve their health. So how do you develop the right mindset? Number 1, keep company with positive people, the people who only encourage you to go after your goals. And my suggestion to you, be very careful about the people you share their dreams with, because there are very many dream stealers. People who discard, I mean, you could have a fantastic dream, but don't share it carelessly with everybody you meet. Okay? So keep company with good people, read good books. The books I spoke earlier about, keep a positive attitude, put positive things in your mind. Okay? The second part of the skill of personal development and sharpening the saw is developing skills. Skills is the things you do, and that comes from repetition. You cannot build a skill until you actually do something. If you want to share the business with a prospect, you have to do it. The worst time you will ever do anything is the first time, because from there on, you're going to improve. So do it. I remember when Betty and I started the business, I was really consumed about this business. At that time, Eagle Team had a very clear structure of presenting the business. 4 steps: introduce yourself, tell your story, talk about the need to build the business, explain how the business works, it's called the logic, and call to action. Ask people to make a decision about the business. Very simple, structured way of presenting the business. And I practiced that at home. I would practice in the office during lunchtime. Anytime I had an opportunity to practice, I would do it, because I knew that the moment I learned how to do it, I wouldn't need my upline leader to do it for me. Within 2 months, I was able to do a presentation. So skill comes from repetition. Very simple thing that Eric Worre said: plan, do, review. Plan, do, review. Plan what you want to go and do it, review it, see where you've made mistakes and where you can improve. So a skill comes from repetition. You need to find out what skills you need to build this business. The skill of meeting and knowing new people, the skill of inviting people to look at the business, the skill of presenting the business, the skill of touching new people in the business, the skill of servicing customers, the skill of selling events, because one of the bedrock of our business is events, right? The third aspect is the K, knowledge. You need to have knowledge about the business. You need to have knowledge about the products. You need to have knowledge about the marketing plan, the compensation plan. You need to have knowledge of what skills you need to develop. Okay. If you meet let me say you meet a friend or a stranger and you notice something about them, you ask a question, hey, so and so, it looks as if you're limping. What's the problem? Say, I've had arthritis for a long time. I've been taking medication and this thing doesn't seem to be improving. And I don't know what to do. Oh, how long has it been going? I've been like this for the last 5-6 years. I've visited so many doctors. Some of them even suggested surgery, but I don't want surgery. Keep asking the question until you get to the gist of the matter, until you understand the person's real need. That's when you can suggest, by the way, I think I may have a solution for your challenge. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, or if your problem is osteoarthritis, which is bone related, there are 3 products I would recommend that I think will really help you: omega-3, CalMag, and Full Motion. I would suggest that you try these 3 products and see how it works. All right. What have you done? First, you listen to the person's need. 2, you have knowledge about what products would help or fulfill their need. 3, you've linked together their need and our products. That is why it's important to have knowledge. Okay. And this comes from reading, attending training, learning what the products do, and learning. In fact, one of the best skills I would recommend for you to develop is the art of listening. The art of listening, in fact, is a very, very powerful skill you can develop. Why? It's got therapeutic benefits. You see, when somebody really realizes that you actually listen to them, they'll be very thankful because you understand their position. So learn the skill of listening. If you do these things, you're going to grow in the business. And the more you grow as a person, you will see your income is going to match how you grow. 3 things in sharpening the saw: develop the right attitude, develop the right skill to build your business, and develop your knowledge base about the products, about the business plan, the compensation plan, policies and procedures, and books that help you to become a better person. If you do these 3 things, develop your attitude, your skill, and knowledge, you're going to be a better distributor and a better leader for your team. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you very much for spending this evening with Betty and myself. We hope that some of the ideas we've shared with you are going to help you grow your business to the next level. So thank you very much. Good night and God bless.